For a single-screen regional cinema, we'd be one of maybe a handful in Australia that are still remaining. The cinema side of the business it has a long history here. I think we first started rolling film here in 1910. So not only is it one of the oldest theatres in the country, it's also one of the oldest cinemas. I moved here in 2004 with my partner Sarah, and we decided that we would do the tree change and come up here from Melbourne, and we bought the theatre along with some friends of ours and started in December 2004. When we bought the theatre, it was a cinema with a little sort of milk bar cum kiosk at the front, and there were a couple of things that we did immediately. We installed the concert PA down here and the lighting system. We brought the kitchen up to commercial spec, and what we wanted to create was a unique space, particularly for people coming to watch the movies. People can come and watch a film and sit down and have a glass of red and have something to eat by candlelight, and pizzas are really good because you can eat them in the dark. And the PA meant that we could bring national and international performing artists here, and we felt that there was an opportunity for us to present interesting original artists from Australia and around the world to an interesting artistically minded community.
The whole time I've been here, it's had a really important place in the community. It offers a whole lot of different things. It's got the coffee shop aspect, it's got Friday night drinks after work. Now it's got the artists market, but it's always maintained the cinema and being a place where people can come and gather.
We've only become successful now because we have actually begun to understand the business and the importance of this business to the community, and we've opened it up to all elements, whether it's fundraisers for football clubs or presentation nights or hospital fundraisers or special screenings for environmental or sustainability groups. Whatever it might be, this business cannot survive as a cinema alone.
It's actually very much a social centre for this town. It's the only operating music venue, so this is where you come and see bands and various events. And David Stretch very generously allows me to practice here. As a circus artist, my speciality is the hula hoop. I studied at the Moscow State Circus School. I've been an international soloist for the last 10 years with my act, The Dying Swan, which I perform in 6 languages. I actually could not live in Castlemaine without the theatre.
We were totally naive to the industry and naive to this business. We'd never worked in the movie business before. So it was a big struggle for us to understand how things worked and how to negotiate terms on films and establish and maintain relationships with distributors. But it was gratifying when Robert Connolly was filming Romulus, My Father, in the region, and we were able to establish a relationship with him. And during the shoot, Eric Bana, one of the stars of the film, wanted to shout the cast and crew out to a night off. Eric wanted to show Mad Max. It was the first film that had really inspired him, and he wanted to show it to the cast and crew, and it was through that sort of relationship, I think, on that night that meant that we were able to host the world premiere here.
The previous owner actually was really supportive of Australian films, as David is, but John definitely had a love for them, and he got rabbit-proof fence here very early on, and all the stars came and they had a talk here, so that was really fantastic.
Policy in this cinema has always been to exhibit Australian films, and I used to find that they did reasonably well. Crocodile Dundee 2 was the biggest film that I ever exhibited. It ran for 3 weeks, every session packed, much better than the blockbuster American films, because by the time an independent gets hold of those films, they're often quite cold, and the fashion has gone on to the next big thing. But Australian films, we found, were supported.
What we try to do is have 3 or 4 different sorts of films each week. One for kids, one with more commercial appeal, perhaps an art house film, and one that's a little bit left of centre, and it might be a documentary. And with that sort of mix, and with careful programming, and with me doing most of the projection work, which I've had to learn how to do out of necessity, we can get by.
Castlemaine's a really interesting place because it's such a cross of cultures. There's such a mixture here. It's not only the hot rod capital of Australia, but it has a really very strong arts community. Not just people working within this small regional town, but people who are working as artists internationally. It has all the beauty of being a small country town while being an hour from the centre of the city, and also on the same side of the city as the international airport.
I was attracted to this area for several reasons. 1, it's closest to Melbourne. 2, the community here. 3, venues like the Theatre Royal. The artist market, it happens once a month, but it happens all the way down around the side of the Theatre Royal. There's lots and lots of local artists who produce things. There's jewellery, there's actually steelwork, there's printmakers, and there's a whole diversity of stuff in there.
The theatre itself was originally built with sapling walls and a canvas roof, and then they added a wooden structure to the front, which was the hotel. Having worked as a burlesque artist myself, I was really fascinated by the idea that the artists like Lola Montez, the other burlesque artists and variety performers came to the goldfields because if the audience, the gold miners, liked your act, they would shower the stage with gold nuggets.
The artists that come and play here talk about the special atmosphere and the special feeling that they get when they're on stage. There's something in the walls here, and whether it's 350 people for a movie premiere, or 1,000 people queued up down the street for a show, or the place jumping at a Sudanese dance party, whatever the event might be, it's a very special feeling that's generated in this room.
One morning I was practising an act that I was taking away for a gig, and I was standing up on the stage with my back to the theatre, and I felt someone behind me, and so I turned, and behind me there was standing a man in evening dress with glossy black hair, and I was so surprised that I actually stumbled. I fell off my high heels, and by the time I'd regained myself, he was gone. There was no one else in the theatre. The only person here that day was the cleaner. I mean, I always felt quite conscious that there was a loaded performance history here. I feel like an audience leaves some sort of DNA, some sort of presence, in really, really old theatres. And for me, that's good. For my sort of work, you can't practice to no one because there's always the audience interaction that needs to be taken into account. And for me, practicing here, this theatre always feels full.
We've fallen in love with the town, we've fallen in love with the people here, and we've obviously fallen in love with the theatre. I mean, it has become, you have to, I would think you would have to love it to remain here as long as we have.
I think there's something about the atmosphere that the Theatre Royal provides that's a value that would be a real loss if it wasn't here.
Whether you're playing here or working here or attending a show here, it really is a unique feeling. For me to be responsible for sourcing entertainment and presenting entertainment and ensuring its success or being part of its success is extremely satisfying.
It's a gorgeous building, and I don't think we get many places like that anymore. Yeah, so it has to be looked after.
Yeah, there's an enormous responsibility with what we're doing here, and we're hoping that that council and perhaps the federal government or state government will recognise the cultural and historical significance of this place and give us some help so that we can continue to operate for hopefully another 150 years.